back from the strength to their bodies being restored. Because the thing about leprosy is that eventually, you lose your strength. You have these, the parts of your body fall off. You lose all feeling, all that kind of stuff. Their bodies were restored. One of the 10 comes back to give thanks. Great example in human nature. 1/10 of the people, most of the time, will remember to stop and realize that they didn't deserve this and give thanks to God, whatever it is. I've always heard, if you think you have problems, take a trip to the children's hospital for a little while and you realize that you don't have problems. I have in the past sent out emails about a girl that I knew in a earlier ministry who got married. Her first child, they diagnosed her with leukemia. Her name's Emma. And got an email from the grandmother, who is an incredible writer about what's going on, saying that Emma came home and the doctors told them that there's nothing more they can do for her. Which, at the time, whenever they diagnosed and said what was going on, they told them that Emma would be dead by Christmas, and she's still alive, and so they're hoping to be able to spend Christmas with her one last time. But I look at that and I think, whenever I think that things are not good for me, I just realize stuff like that, and I think, you know what, I'm doing pretty good. With all the bursts that we've had in this church, we understand how our lives are connected and centered around our children. But the thing I want you to see in this event is not that one came back, not just that one came back of the 10. The other 9 were so excited it didn't occur to them to go back. They were so thrilled. If you can think about it, you've been diagnosed with AIDS and stage 4 cancer and whatever else, and you're going to die, and the next day you're healed completely. You can not excuse it, but you can understand how you could be so excited that you don't think to go back and give thanks. One did, and we should. But I want to identify in our lives how there are times that things happen. Yes, crises happen, and we wish they were different. And we get so focused on why didn't God change this that we forget to be thankful for the other times in our life whenever God was God and did only what God could do. These men were healed because of God. Now Jesus turns it back on them and says, go home because your faith has made you well. And they had to have faith to turn around and head for the priest, even though they had not been healed. There's no question about it. But the reason they were healed was that faith coupled with the power of God. There's no question about that. And there are times in our life whenever we have God step in and be God. And there are times whenever we need to be thankful not for what we have, but for what we do not have. In the Arthur household, this has been very acute. And I was telling this story to somebody the other day because they did not know it. And I'm thinking, I thought everybody knew this, and they didn't. She didn't. And I'm thinking, this is a great understanding for what I'm about to illustrate with a point here. Kingston, whenever he was a freshman in high school, lived for football. Actually lived for football from the time he was old enough to play. And I always remember talking to Kingston saying, buddy, everybody wants to be the quarterback. Everybody wants to be the running back. Everybody wants to be the wide receiver. I said, when you try out for football, I don't know what you're going to do or what you want to do or whatever, but I said, don't get disappointed if you're not the star, elite, whatever. He said, I don't want to be in those guys, Dad. And I said, really? Oh, no, I want to be on the line where I can hit somebody. I'm going, okay. He said, oh, no, I love it whenever I can block for the guy with the ball. And I'm going, okay. So they're going from 6th grade on, they're playing, and whenever the team walked down on the field in 6th grade, the high school coach was standing there and he said, this team can be a state champion by the time they're seniors. And he told the kids that. And they carried it with them. And Kingston went through 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, into 9th grade. And there were times, it was fun to watch him because if the running back would switch directions, Kingston would see it and would lead him. And there was a couple of times that I would have swore he hurt a kid. I mean, he would just, he loved it if he could hit a guy hard enough to knock him parallel with the ground. He just got off on that. Until when he was a freshman, whenever he was in a drill where, if I understood the drill right, the kids line up against one another, coach throws a ball in, one of them gets it, the guy tries to stop him, and Kingston was against a kid who was a spear tackler, meaning that he jumps and leads with his head, and he hit Kingston in the head hard enough that it gave him a concussion, and putting the pieces together, Kingston got up, dazed. The coach said, well, Arthur, you're going to take that, or are you going to get back in the drill and take it again? And Kingston walked back into the drill, and the kid hit him in the head again. So the neurologist, I remember the day we were standing in the neurologist's office, and he said, your son has not suffered a concussion. And we're saying, we thought he had. So no, your son has suffered a double concussion. And we say, well, what does that mean? And he said, it means he should be dead. And we say, well, what does that mean? And he said, statistically speaking, if a high school child receives a concussion and receives a second concussion within 10 days, statistically speaking, 75% of them drop dead. And he said Kingston suffered a second concussion within about 90